There's a certain energy that makes a woman pause, take notice, and begin to chase without even realizing she's doing it. And it has nothing to do with your looks, your status, or your bank account. It's something deeper, quieter, but infinitely more powerful. It's the energy of non-neediness, the kind of inner grounding that says, I'm already full. You see, most men move through the world trying to get something from women. Validation, attention, approval. And women can feel that instantly. It's in the tone of your voice. It's in how quickly you respond. It's in how much you're trying to prove you're worthy of her interest. And here's the hard truth. The more you try to gain her affection from a place of need, the more she instinctively pulls away. Not because she's cruel or playing games, but because human nature is wired to resist desperation. What's needy becomes invisible. What's whole becomes magnetic. Non-neediness isn't about pretending not to care. It's not about coldness or detachment. It's about being rooted emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. A man who is truly non-needy moves from a place of abundance. He doesn't chase to complete himself. He connects because he wants to, not because he has to. And that distinction changes everything. When you radiate the energy of a man who has his own mission, who respects himself enough to not overextend, who doesn't make a woman the center of his world, she starts wondering why. Why are you not trying so hard? Why are you not like the others? And that curiosity becomes attraction. That space you leave gives her room to feel desire. And when she feels that pull, that hunger, she starts reaching for you. Psychologically, women are drawn to strength. Not just physical or financial, but emotional. The kind of strength that says, I can stand on my own. And this strength isn't loud. It's not arrogant. It's calm. It's in the silence between your words. It's in the way you can walk away from conversations that don't serve your peace. It's in your ability to not over-explain, to not seek constant reassurance, and to be at ease in your own. This is what separates boys from men. Boys need approval. Men give energy, but they don't beg for reciprocation. They understand that attraction is not about demand, it's about gravity. And gravity comes from wholeness, from presence, from inner purpose. So if you really want to shift the dynamic, stop chasing her and start mastering yourself. Let your energy say, I already know my value, whether you choose me or not, doesn't define it. Because the moment you drop the need to be chosen, you become the one worth choosing. When you're full, you don't chase. You attract. Let that be your power. You can always feel it when a man walks into a room and owns it, without saying a word. There's a calmness in his eyes, a stillness in his posture, and a quiet intensity in his presence that draws people in. That's masculine energy at its peak. Not the loud, aggressive kind that tries to dominate. I'm talking about magnetic, masculine presence. The kind that women feel before they even fully understand why. In today's world, too many men have lost touch with this power. They think presence is performance, that being seen means being flashy, constantly talking, constantly proving. But the truth is, real presence doesn't scream, it resonates. It's not about taking up space, it's about being anchored in it. And when a woman feels that energy in a man, it wakes something up in her. It tells her this is a man who doesn't need the world to validate him. He knows who he is. Presence is less about what you do and more about how you are. Are you grounded? Are you listening when she speaks? Or just waiting for your turn to talk? Do you hold eye contact without flinching, not to intimidate, but because you have nothing to hide? That's presence. That's emotional strength. And women pick up on it instantly. Psychologically, feminine energy is drawn to certainty, not rigidity, but emotional clarity. A man who is fully present sends a signal. I'm here. I'm not distracted. I'm not performing. I'm not trying to be liked. I'm just being me. That's rare. That's valuable. And that's what makes her start leaning in, trying to figure you out. You have to understand that feminine energy isn't attracted to chaos. It's attracted to calm leadership. And you can't fake that. You build it by spending time alone, by learning to enjoy your own company, by developing the discipline to stay focused when everything around you is trying to pull you in 10 directions. When a man has cultivated that kind of stillness, even his silence speaks. Women chase that kind of energy, not because it begs for attention, but because it commands respect. It makes her feel something she doesn't feel often: safe, intrigued, and challenged, all at once. And here's the deeper truth. When you are fully present, you give her permission to drop her guard, to be feminine, to surrender emotionally, not in weakness, but in trust, because your presence tells her, you don't need to perform here either, just be. That's how connection happens. That's how pursuit begins. So if you want to be the man women chase, don't amplify your noise, amplify your presence. Train your mind to be still, your energy to be certain, and your communication to be rooted in truth, not performance. Because when a man becomes a calm force in a chaotic world, he doesn't have to chase. The world and the woman starts chasing him. Most men make the mistake of trying to impress a woman's ego. They list their accomplishments, flash their lifestyle, flex their confidence. And while that may grab attention for a moment, it doesn't create depth. It doesn't stir something lasting. Because here's the truth. A woman's ego might be flattered, but her heart only opens when she feels emotionally moved. And that's where real attraction begins. Not at the surface, but at the level of feeling. You have to understand, women live and breathe through emotional cues. They don't fall in love with your resume. They fall in love with how they feel when they're around you. That feeling of being seen, understood, safe, even gently challenged. That's what makes her chase. And most importantly, that's what makes her stay. So when you're communicating, whether it's a conversation, a message, or even a subtle moment, stop trying to sound impressive. Start speaking in a way that touches something real. Get past her armor. That doesn't mean you need to be overly emotional or deeply philosophical every time you speak. It just means learning to sense what's beneath the surface. When she talks about work, don't just say, that's cool. Try. It sounds like you carry a lot of pressure and still show up strong. That's rare. Now, you're not just listening. You're feeling her. You're seeing what others overlook. Emotionally intelligent men are rare. They don't react from insecurity. They don't need to dominate the space. Instead, they lead by depth. They know how to make her laugh without being a clown, how to challenge her without tearing her down, and how to open her up without prying. That balance between emotional sensitivity and masculine certainty is magnetic. The key is this. Don't try to win her over by feeding her ego. That only invites performance and pretense on both sides. Instead, create a space where emotion has room to breathe. Because when a woman feels emotionally activated, when she feels something alive in your presence, she doesn't just enjoy you, she starts yearning for more of you. This is where the real shift happens. When a man understands that attraction is more about emotional experience than logical persuasion, he stops performing and starts connecting. And that connection is what breaks her pattern. It's what makes her replay your words in her head. It's what makes her look at her phone wondering when you'll text, not because you've tricked her, but because you've touched something deeper than most men even try to reach. So stop trying to impress her mind. Start speaking to her emotion. Because once a woman feels safe and seen in your presence, she doesn't just stay. She starts chasing the man who made her feel alive. Most men think that the way to keep a woman's attention is by staying constantly available, by always texting back instantly, always being around, always showing up the moment she calls. And while that may feel like devotion, in her emotional world, it doesn't create desire. It creates predictability. And desire never lives in the predictable. It lives in the space between presence and absence. You see, when you're always there, always chasing, you remove the one thing that stirs attraction more than words ever could: tension. Tension is not conflict. It's anticipation. It's the space where curiosity is born, and without it, there's no emotional gravity. There's no yearning, just comfort. And too much comfort too soon kills attraction. But here's the distinction. I'm not saying disappear. I'm not saying withdraw out of insecurity or to manipulate her into chasing you. That's emotional immaturity. What I'm saying is this: learn to pull back with strength, not silence. There's a difference between being distant because you're afraid and being reserved because you're grounded. Strategic withdrawal is not punishment, it's rhythm. Just like music needs pauses between the notes to create meaning, connection needs pauses to build emotional weight. When you always initiate, always give, always overextend, there's no room for her to feel your absence, and therefore, no room for her to miss you. Psychologically, we value what we must reach for, and emotionally, a woman begins to chase not because a man disappears, but because his self-control intrigues her. He's present, yes, but not needy. He gives energy, but he knows when to pull back to protect his center. That's not a game. That's emotional maturity. That's leadership. And what happens when you lead this way is fascinating. Her emotions begin to fill the space you've left behind. She replays conversations. She re-examines your words. She notices the shift in energy. She starts feeling your absence. And that, right there, is when she begins to lean in. Not because you forced her, but because your emotional discipline created a vacuum. And nature, especially emotional nature, hates a vacuum. Most importantly, this only works when it's rooted in authenticity. You withdraw not to create insecurity in her, but to honor your time, your purpose, your balance. And in doing so, you show her what kind of man you are. The kind that doesn't chase, but still holds power. And that is rare. That is irresistible. So the next time you feel the urge to overreach, to chase, to constantly reassure, pause. Let her feel your absence the way she's felt your presence. Because when you master the rhythm of connection and restraint, you don't just keep her attention. You create the kind of mystery that makes her chase the moment you step away. There's a reason why some men are unforgettable, even long after they've walked away. It's not always because of how they looked or what they had. It's because of how they made a woman feel, and more specifically, how they created emotional anchors. Moments of intensity, intimacy, or playfulness that left a lasting impression. Most men overlook this entirely. They focus on facts, not feelings. But if you want a woman to not just notice you, but chase you, then you must understand this one truth. Women remember emotion, not logic. They don't recall every detail of what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel in a moment that felt personal, real, and alive. Creating emotional anchors isn't about being dramatic or manipulative. It's about cultivating genuine, present moments that spark something inside her. It might be a conversation that goes unexpectedly deep, a private joke that only the two of you share, a vulnerable truth you reveal that shows you're not hiding behind a mask. Or maybe it's just the way you looked at her, unapologetically, without needing to say a word. These moments matter because they interrupt her routine. They break the pattern of boring, predictable conversations and shallow attention that most women are used to. And when a moment feels different, it gets stored, not just in her mind, but in her body. That's what creates emotional pull. That's what makes her crave your presence again, even if she can't explain why. And here's where most men go wrong. They try to create more connection by doing more of the same, more compliments, more texts, more attention. But what works isn't quantity, it's quality and contrast. A moment of real laughter during silence, a compliment that points to her character, not her looks, a question that invites her to reveal something real. When you bring her out of autopilot, even for a few seconds, you become an experience, not just another man. Now, here's the deeper layer. Women chase what makes them feel like the best version of themselves. So ask yourself, when she's around you, does she feel alive, seen, playful, respected, or does she feel like she's just another option you're trying to impress? You anchor her emotionally by anchoring her to herself. Through your presence, your words, and your energy, that's what leaves a mark. That's what keeps her thinking about you days later. So, you want her to chase you. Stop trying to impress her and start leaving her with something real to remember. Give her moments she can't recreate with anyone else. Because once you do that, she's not just chasing a man, she's chasing a feeling she only gets when she's with you. One of the most overlooked but powerful truths in dating is this. Women are not just choosing a man, they're choosing a story. And the man who understands this begins to live in a completely different league. See, most men are chasing women, trying to be enough for her story. But the moment you shift that frame, when you stop asking, am I good enough for her, and start living a life so compelling that she asks, do I belong in his world? Everything changes. This is what it means to control the frame. It's not about being dominant or controlling. It's about being the author of your own life. Your path, your mission, your standards, your energy, it all creates a frame that either invites her in or pushes her away. And women don't want to write your story for you. They want to enter a story that's already alive. You become magnetic when your life already has movement, purpose, depth, structure, a sense of direction that doesn't bend just because she shows up. She needs to see that you're not waiting for love to save you. You're already moving forward, and love can enhance that, but it doesn't define you. When a woman meets a man like that, she's not just attracted, she's intrigued. She wants to know more. She wants to be part of that energy. And that's when she starts chasing. Psychologically, women respond to a man's internal leadership. That means clarity, discipline, and vision. It's not about having all the answers, but it's about knowing who you are and where you're going. A man who lacks that will always chase. He'll always overextend, trying to win approval. But a man who is centered naturally pulls others into his gravity, without force, without games. The key is to build a world that's emotionally and mentally rich. That doesn't mean you need millions in the bank or a jet-set lifestyle. It means you wake up with purpose, you live by values, you protect your time. You're not emotionally swayed by every compliment or criticism. That stability is what makes you the story worth chasing. And when a woman feels that, when she senses that your frame is unshakable, it allows her to relax into her feminine energy. She doesn't feel the need to lead, to prove, or to perform. She simply follows the emotional rhythm you've already created, not because she's weak, but because your strength gives her the freedom to be soft. That's the dynamic every woman craves, whether she admits it or not. So here's the truth most men never learn. You don't need to chase when your life becomes the story she wants to be written into. Build your frame, live your mission, and let her chase the man who's already moving. Because she's not just drawn to you, she's drawn to the life she sees herself living beside you.